Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dear Parents. Today I have an Ask Me Anything from a mom who's having trouble with her toddler's sleep regression. She was a better sleeper and now she's not sleeping as well. And I just want Emily to talk through with us exactly what she's facing so that we can come up with a plan together. So here we go.
Hi Phil, my name is Emily and our daughter Remy turns 3 in about 3 weeks and recently has really regressed with her sleeping over the last 2 weeks, particularly at nighttime. She lays in her bed until we leave and then immediately goes to the door and screams for about an hour, bangs on the door, crying, hits her toys against the door, and it just really goes on from there. It's also happening at nap time at home, even though she's napping great at daycare. I think it's some sort of separation anxiety, not entirely sure what triggered it. We did start swim lessons a couple weeks ago that she had a lot of separation anxiety with, but she's gotten a lot better. Her daycare class has also been a lot more chaotic than usual, and we notice that when things are a little up and down at school, she tends to regress. So just curious if this is a phase. We've been letting her cry it out. We did try laying in there till she fell asleep, but then the minute she woke up and realized we weren't there, pattern starts all over again. Tried leaving the door open with a barrier to say, hey, stay in there, but that didn't work. She kept coming out and then wanted us to sleep in there with her. So right now we're just kind of letting her scream, and we have an infant at home that can wake up when she does scream. So anyway, just curious what you think. It's happening at night and at nap time when we're at home, and really don't want to get into a co-sleeping situation because the last time we brought her into our big bed when she regressed, it was really hard to break her of that. She usually loves her bed and sleeps really great, so curious what you think. Thanks.
All right, so this is a very common issue that parents face, and oftentimes it leads to things like the co-sleeping because we're all tired, we have a new baby at home, and parents that want to avoid co-sleeping can do that. It takes some intentionality. It is easy to fall into the trap of just get into bed with me, or they climb into bed and I don't know it because I'm so tired. And so this mom clearly just wants to have a peaceful bedtime, but also not have them co-sleep. We have 6 kids. We haven't ever fallen into the trap of co-sleeping, luckily, just by the grace. But that is something that does happen. And so I want to talk through how I would approach this when it comes to her child's sleep, both so that it isn't the hassle, frustration, stress on both sides of the equation of the screaming at the door, throwing things at the door, the whole nightly battle. And I have a couple of ideas of what I would recommend. And I've got to help a lot of parents with this over the years as a pediatrician. And so I feel like I can walk through this because we've walked through it with so many patients in the past. Now, first and foremost, a lot of well-meaning parents will hear this from a friend and say, oh, just get them some melatonin. This is not a melatonin deficiency issue. This is a habit, sleep separation anxiety, busyness of life scenario that we just need to apply some new practices to rather than trying to chemically get the child to fall asleep. It may work temporarily. It won't fix the big issue. I don't like putting kids on melatonin for an extended period of time, especially young kids too. It's a hormone. It's not just a vitamin. It is actually a hormone that has lots of effects throughout the body. And if we can avoid it, especially when it's not indicated, then I'm all for doing that. The big picture is that this is a separation anxiety issue, not a broken sleep issue. I don't even think this is really a sleep regression. People talk about sleep regressions as if like they reach a magic age and then their sleep falls apart. And there are sometimes periods where it's more common to do this. I mean, you hear about the 4-month one or the 8-month or the 9-month. It's tough to keep them all straight because you can find a blog post that talks about the 6.4-month sleep regression because somebody experienced that or they're trying to attribute that to a specific time period. It just happens over the course of babyhood and toddlerhood. The things that make me think that this is a separation anxiety issue is one, she loves her bed, but we've had a lot of new changes. We have swim lessons, daycare rooms changed, we got a baby at home. When her days feel less predictable, she reaches out harder at night because we're feeling that anxiety of something is different, something is off. I need these close people that I love and that support me and care for me. The screaming at the door, I would look at that as a bid for connection rather than a trying to be defiant or just trying to make things harder for us as parents. And the goal here is not to keep her from missing you, because she might miss you, but what the goal is to create that distance is survivable. And over time, we get used to, okay, my parents are leaving, but that's okay. I've done this before. I know what to do. And in the morning, I'll wake up and I will go see them and we'll be in a good place. This helps us as parents to feel good about, okay, we can say night-night, leave the room, and not have them kicking, screaming, throwing things, coming out a bunch of times, and all the chaos and struggle that creates. And it also helps the child to feel like, okay, this is predictable. I know what's going to happen. And so what we have to do is we have to build up a bunch of reps of, I was able to fall asleep on my own, in my own bed, wake up in the morning in my own bed, and have a positive experience with it. Now, the issue that Emily is facing here, that a lot of parents face, is that they tried 17 different things over 17 different days, because something like a friend, a blog post, a Instagram reel, a TikTok, a ChatGPT session will tell you, oh, this is what's going on, especially ChatGPT and Claude. They will tell you, yeah, you're right on, just do this, or yeah, you're right on, try this. And they're very sycophantic when it comes to like telling people what they want to hear. So if you give them part of an idea, they'll kind of run with that idea rather than looking at all of the evidence or those sorts of things. So what we need to do is be consistent for a month straight and anticipate that this is going to take at least a month to get back on track, but that's okay. And that is expected, because what we have to do is we have to build up that, okay, this is consistent, this is predictable, this feels safe. And so when I do that, I talk about camping. And you've kind of indicated some little aspects of camping, but it needs to be more regimented in protocol than trying a bunch of different things. Not unusual to try a bunch of different things because we're exhausted and we'll take anyone's advice that we can, including mine, but hopefully this helps more. So camping works well because it's gradual, it is connected, and it doesn't require a lot of big stress in the moment for the child. For the anxious child in particular, which is just part of the separation anxiety that we're facing right now, is that when we, as parents, disappear behind that closed door, we have a spike of fear of this isn't going to go well, and then it's really hard to fall asleep when we are anxious and upset. Camping helps both when we think about I like talking about authoritative parenting. Authoritative is both connected and warm, but also structured with boundaries and expectations. And camping allows for both of those. The warmth is, I'm right here, you're safe, I love you, go back to sleep. And it's also, here's how we do bedtime. This is what bedtime looks like, and this is the stable routine, and it's not going to change or adjust, and we're not going to give in. And when we have that, when we have those boundaries around it, which I talk a lot about authoritative parenting, when you have a boundary that the child knows, that leads to more feeling safe and secure and not pushing all the time, because it's not a slot machine of, tonight we did this, and when I screamed and hit the door 3 times, they came and got me, they let me get into bed, or they gave me an extra hug or an extra snack or an extra book or something along those lines. When we are predictable, that leads to safety. Now, the trap to avoid is staying in bed with her until she is asleep and then leaving, because she'll wake up right away, getting out of the bed. I've been there too, getting out of the bed, trying to quietly exit the room. The kid hears that, they surface, they find you, and you start back over from zero again. Rotating through the different methods over the course of a short period of time is also another trap that a lot of parents fall into, because it's really challenging, and we're like trying to just throw different spaghetti on the wall and see what the message is, and then attempt that. So instead, camping is going to be, we're going to build reps of positive sleep experiences where the child falls asleep in their bed without a parent in bed with them. And so this is going to take about 3 to 4 weeks. And so you can plot it out on your calendar the way that you want. I would plot it out, and then I would stick with that and say, this is what we're doing tonight. Even though it's hard, even though last night didn't go as well as we wanted, we're going to stick with this. The first 4 nights, what you're going to do is you're going to sit in a chair next to her bed until she falls asleep. You're going to be calm, and you're going to be boring. If she tries to initiate conversation, tries to get you to do all the things that kids do when the parent is sitting in their room, you're going to say, it's sleep time. I'm right here. I love you. If she stays in her bed, perfect. If she gets out of her bed and is wandering around her room, I would just redirect her back to her bed and say, it's sleep time. I'm right here. I love you. She will quickly learn getting out of the bed and playing doesn't work, but I can stay in my bed. I can look at a book. I can play with my stuffy, something along those lines until I get sleepy. It's sleep time. I'm right here. I love you. Now, while you're sitting in the chair, I would not be on your phone scrolling because she'll see that the light will affect her. She'll be curious and seeing those sorts of things. But I don't think you just have to sit there and raw dog it for an hour or however long it takes to fall asleep. I would use my Kindle in circumstances like this when we've done this in the past. Just have my Kindle, put a AirPod in and do an audiobook or a podcast or something along those lines to entertain yourself. I mean, if you can just sit there quietly or write something like that, just don't sit there scrolling on your phone because that will be distracting to her. You're going to sit right next to her until she falls asleep for the first 4 nights, calm and boring. You're just the anchor that's there. You're not the playmate. The next 4 nights, you're going to move the chair halfway to the doorway. So you're just going to move back a little bit. You're still going to be present. She's still building up the reps of my parent is here. And it's best if you trade off. If you have 2 parents in the home, it's best to trade off so that we get used to this consistent bedtime routine with both parents. So we're going to sit there and do the same thing. It's going to get faster during this period of time because she'll be used to it. She'll realize this is how it's going to go. The next few nights, you're going to be at the doorway. So you're all the way over to the doorway in the chair, listening to your book, listening to your podcast, reading on your Kindle, folding laundry, whatever you want to do at that time, and get her used to that for those next 4 nights. And then you're going to be outside the room in the hallway so that she can peek and see you, but she's not going to have the ever-present visual, but know that you're there. Now, during the day with all of this, you're going to talk up how it's going, regardless of how it goes. But you're going to talk it up because that will help her to see, hey, this is something special. This is something that I can do. I'm regaining those skills. You might brag about it to grandma on the phone or talk about it with the baby and like, oh, isn't she doing a good job of sleeping? All those sorts of things. Kids love it when you talk about them. Everyone loves when you say positive things about them. And if they hear you bragging to somebody else about it, even if it's a stuffed animal or a toddler or a fake phone call with grandma, all of that helps. Now, the most important thing is to be consistent and to keep it dull. Minimal talking, low light. If she's in her bed, let her be. Don't get engaged with it. Don't let it be a slot machine of, if I talk to my parents this many times, they'll read me a story, they'll hug me, they'll come sit with me, those sorts of things. Just keep it simple, keep it boring. Now, if she gets up in the middle of the night, you're going to do the same routine. You might have to go in there. You might have to sit there. I would not fault you if you lay down on the ground. You bring your pillow in and you lay down on the ground and you go to sleep too, because in the middle of the night, it's really hard. But it will get better if she can fall asleep in her own and go back to sleep on her own. Her brain will realize these are the reps. This is safe. I can do this. Now, putting my pediatrician hat on for just one moment here this sounds very much like the very classic separation-driven sleep regression that we face. If they're snoring, if there's pauses in breathing, if there's pain, fever, new tooth coming in, obviously something to loop your pediatrician on. And if it hasn't worked over the course of the month or things are getting worse, certainly loop your pediatrician in on. This is very common. This is very normal. It is tolerable, and you will figure this out. And it might be something that we have to put on the schedule for a couple of weeks from now when we get a better sleep plan for baby, when things have settled down. And that's okay. In the meantime, you can do what you need to do. You're not going to break their sleep or anything along those lines. If you have a question, feel free to reach out. You can go to drphilboucher.com/ask or go to dearparents.substack.com or just look in the show notes on here. I'll get your question answered. And in the meantime, keep up the good work.